All right, so I got some information about a possible collection purchase, around 400 books, mostly Bronze Age, around 70s books. That's from what I understand. I have no idea what is in it, and I'm about to go check it out. So let's see how it goes. I mean, if I don't end up picking up, I probably won't even post this video, but let's go. All right, so since you saw that intro, that means, yes, I did end up picking up the collection. So I'm gonna go over the keys from the collection, kind of the minor keys and the little bit bigger keys, and what I paid for it, how I came up with those numbers. I'll also do kind of a little section of the video where I'm actually going through the boxes, what these books came in, just so that you can get an idea how I got them and kind of like how I was going through those books. This is why you hear people like Barry Gary, that kind of thing, say, like, if you are someone that buys and sells comics, make sure that everybody knows that you buy and sell comics. And so my wife was actually talking to the individual that I purchased these comics from, and she told him that I buy and sell comics, and he's like, "Hey, I have some comics that I'm looking to sell." And so she gave him my email address. We started talking, and we I ended up meeting up and going over to his place and checking out the books. So the way it actually worked out is I went up, he had the books in the boxes, and we actually ended up just talking about other stuff for about, an hour and a half or 2 hours or so, like different types of collectibles. He collects tintype photos and like concert posters, like vintage concert posters, that kind of thing. And so we talked about a lot of different stuff. And when it got to about an hour and a half or 2 hours in, and we hadn't looked at the comic books yet, and so what he ended up doing is he gave me the boxes to take home and said, "Hey, just look through them, let me know what you think, and just tell me what you think you can pay for them, and then we'll work it out from there." And so that's what I did. And so I ended up bringing them home, going through the boxes, pulling out the key issues, the minor keys, that kind of thing, and here we are. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna cut to a view of the box of me going through one of these boxes. And if you don't want to sit there going through that full box, so I go through one of the boxes. There were two of these. If you don't want to watch that, then just skip after it, and I'll go over the keys that were a part of this collection. Right, so this is how the comics were stored. This is how they were given to me, basically in these makeshift boxes. None of them were bagged, none of them were boarded, and so that's definitely something that went into my consideration for what I paid for the books. Some awesome books, all Bronze Age, from about 1976 to 1983. Gets maybe a little into 84, with a couple outliers on the upper end. But you can see how they were provided with these little, like they were in order and had these little breakdowns of how many issues of each type, which was real helpful when going through them. But yeah, so let's start with these, with some of these Captain Americas, and not a lot of keys in the Captain America run at this point, but still, some great just Bronze Age run filler type books. You've got a couple cool like Red Skull covers in here, like this. A lot of these are Captain America with the Falcon. There are a couple minor keys that are in here from the Captain America run. And I'll go through these like this for a little bit, and then I'll switch the view so that it's a little easier to see everything. But just kind of so you can get an idea, and him fighting Abraham Lincoln, get an idea when I started going through the books, what I was seeing, what I was going through when I was reviewing, this collection. There's another great Red Skull cover. I always like seeing the Red Skull on these. And let's see, I think there are a few more caps in here. A few more caps. So that was one of the big pluses, is that there are definitely some kind of the not popular runs of books, but there are some of the more popular runs like Captain America, X-Men, Spider-Man, that kind of thing, which is what you like to see. Here's probably the biggest book from the run, and it's just a Punisher crossover that was in this collection for the Captain America. I've also got this one, which is the first appearance of Mother Superior. I believe that's that character's name, who's also Red Skull's daughter. And it's actually a pretty, glossy copy. You can see here. This is probably would be on the nicer end of the conditions of these books, but you can still see there are these, let's see if I can get it to show on camera here. still have things like these creases there, and the back, you've got this crease. You see going along the back too. And so, yeah, it's glossy, but there's still, condition issues with these. But yeah, so that's the Captain America books. Now I'll go through the X-Men, because X-Men definitely had a few more keys in it than some of the other runs. See here, this one just a #1 crossover with Alpha Flight. We had a couple of the annuals. Then this was the earliest X-Men book, 114. Let's see, what year is this from? It's from 1978. So this is the earliest X-Men book that was in there. And then, again, just some great X-Men Bronze Age run filler type books. There's definitely a few keys for X-Men in here too. So I'll make sure yeah, this is the challenge, is trying to get these out, because it's just, yeah, it's more damage. I'm definitely going to be bagging and boarding all of these, which is another thing that I had to consider, because it's just more time, that you put into this, and cost, because I had to buy all the bags and boards, which is about $85. Here's a cool Phoenix cover. It was like that one. Now, this is one of the minor keys that's in here. This is the first time Rogue is in the X-Men title. She hasn't joined the X-Men yet. First time she's in the X-Men title. Her first appearance is Avengers Annual number 10. But that's the first time you have her in the title. So then, see, we've got these little helpful little things there. So all right. So yeah, just some pretty substantial runs. A lot of continuous issues. I think 61. Maybe not. There was some minor thing I thought with that one. But so these two. This is actually the origin of Binary. And then you've got the first appearance of Binary. So this is one of those. This is definitely a key in the run. It's in decent condition too. Again, this is a book that's really only worth submitting if it's very high grade and like 9.6, 9.8 type grade. But still a cool key. And let's see here. I think there's a couple other. Oh yeah, I like this one. This is I like this Kitty Pryde cover. It's also the first appearance of Madeline Pryor in the X-Men run. It's actually on the very last page. See here? So you've got Madeline Pryor, and that bottom panel there is introduced in this run. So that was one of the things that was fun for me too, is getting the raw books and kind of just flipping through. And this is actually the first time, another Rogue minor key, first time that she joins the X-Men. So she's on the cover. And we've got. This is, this would be a book that'd be pretty decent. It's from this Wolverine story, but you can see some pretty significant staining. A number of these books did have staining, just a little bit of water damage, that kind of thing. And then this is just a great Wolverine cover, but again, you can see, the damage on the cover. So yeah, like I said, one of the main things I had to consider as I was, going through these. So I'll go through the rest of the X-Men, and then we'll switch the view. I don't know. This one seems to be working all right. Oh, and here's the first Forge. I know this book was hot for a little bit. There's two of them actually. Neither are very high grade. You can kind of see just the general kind of wear to these, but still cool key. And then on this one, yeah, this is first Nimrod. Again, this is one where, let's see, I think he's on the last page. Yeah, so there's Nimrod, which is that, like really advanced Sentinel on the top there. So yeah, so there are definitely like a few minor keys in there. It's just that the condition issues and there he is on the cover. And then this is just an anniversary issue. Had quite a few of those in the different runs, getting these anniversary issues, like issue 200, which is just, those are always nice to come across. And, oh yeah, that's right. This is first Baby Cable. So that one. And then just a, a great Wolverine cover here. Let's see. another great Wolverine cover. I like getting these. I mean, they're not worth a ton because you can see the condition of them, but it's still great X-Men bronze. I don't know if this is into copper yet. Yeah, this is 87, so these are more Copper Age type books. And oh, we're getting close. You know, is that book in here? And yes, it was. This is one of the bigger books that was in here. X-Men number 221, the first appearance of Mr. Sinister. And then we had 222, which is this great Wolverine versus Sabretooth cover. So another one, if you haven't seen the interior, you've got great opening splash page with Mr. Sinister. He's on the first few panels here. So yeah, that was one that, you know, you're always nervous when you're getting up to those numbers and it starts crossing into, you know, you get close to it, that is it going to skip that issue? But yeah, this was one of the bigger keys from the collection. Let's see here. All right, let's take a look at. And then there were a lot of Iron Man as well. So you know, some great Submariner. There are a few Submariner crossovers in the Iron Man run. This is another one of the bigger keys here. This is the alcoholism cover. It's actually in pretty decent condition. It's not worth sending in for grading, but still, this was one of the cool ones to see come out of this box. So yeah, again, just some pretty nice, long, continuous runs of books. So it's, you know, it'll be a lot of work bagging and sorting, you know, 400 books, but let's see here. Yeah, Iron Man, outside of, like, you know, issue 1 and issue 55, and then yeah, that 128. Not a ton of keys in the Iron Man run, but still, you know, there's a cool Moon Knight crossover. I think that's a cool cover. This is a minor key. This is the first time I think that Iron Man, or that Jim Rhodes becomes Iron Man. So that's just like a minor key there for Iron Man. And some characters you don't really see very often. Then yeah, nothing crazy. Well, this one, you know, again, another anniversary issue. You know, issue 200. Those always have just like a little more value than the other issues around them. All right, that's all the Iron Mans. Now it'll be a little easier for me to pull these books out. So there was a pretty substantial number of these Marvel 2-in-1s. Actually, I'm actually just gonna I'll skip these ones because there's really not any keys. There's a couple keys in this run, but this missed all of them basically. But you can see we had a pretty big set of. There's this one here. You know, you've got the Man-Thing, who's been a little more popular character recently, but yeah, no real major keys or anything in this Marvel 2-in-1 set of books. So let's skip past those. Now we get to the Incredible Hulk. I think there are a few good books in here, so including this first one right on top. So if you're not aware, this is Incredible Hulk Annual number 5. This is the second appearance of Groot. So he has his first appearance in Tales to Astonish 13, second appearance here in Hulk number 5. I think this one, yeah, it had some staining, you know, it's coming out on camera or not, but the staining all along the spine, tear at the top, you know, it is not a high grade copy. Probably like a 2.0, 2.5 type book. And we have, you know, another one of these anniversary issues, issue 200. Then we have, you know, minor stuff like first Jack of Hearts in comics here. you know, pretty, not real like major things, but let's see, there are a couple, I think there's a couple in here. The duplicates, and him, you know, battling the rhino, which, you know, always a popular character to see. Yeah, you can see it's just a lot of like pretty continuous runs. And so this is another one of the kind of like little bigger keys. This is the first new moonstone, and then you have the second new moonstone here. So 228 and 229. All right, so now to Miss Marvel. If you saw that number there, this is one that you know, it didn't start super early, so I you know, you miss out on issue number 1, which is one of the big keys from this run. There are definitely some other keys that's for Miss Marvel. We got 7, 10, 11, and this is where I was looking for those, you know, for that continuous run here, because if you know what's coming up, issue 16 is the first cameo of Mystique. And we go 15 and 17. So that was very sad to see that. But this is an early appearance of Mystique, and then we had 18, which is the first full appearance of Mystique. This is the most important one to have. This is definitely the most valuable of those Mystique keys. But again, you can see got staining down here. And yeah, you know, it's not a high grade book, but it's still probably a $50 book. So I was happy to see that one in there. And I think that was, yeah, for Miss Marvel, is really just, you know, those two. All right, so you saw the boxes that those came in, kind of like these, you know, these cardboard boxes that had makeshift, you know, sections in them, so that you could have, you know, more comics in there and have them, you know, slightly organized. And they were definitely broken out into the different titles, which was really helpful when going through the books. It also gives you that little bit of, you know, nervousness when you're going through, because when you get close to a number that you know there's a key at, you wonder if you're going to hit that key or if it's going to skip over it. But yeah, so first what I'll do is I'll go over the kind of like the minor keys. And so these are the books that I would say are, you know, $5 to $10 type books. And then I'll go over the, you know, the bigger keys, which are kind of more in the $20 to maybe $50 type books. And everything else is kind of like bronze, more or less Bronze Age, run filler, a variety of grades. Actually, like after looking at them, after doing all the bagging and boarding and everything, I'd say probably the average grade is around a 6. There's definitely quite a few that have things like water damage that knocks those down further. And then there's a couple that have slightly nicer grades as well. But yeah, I'd say average grade after, you know, kind of like really, you know, going through the bag and boarding, take a little closer look, is probably around a 6. Part of the issue is, though, too, is that these aren't books that are really worth pressing. The value isn't there to press, and so you kind of grade them as they sit. And so if there's waviness or, you know, that kind of thing on the cover, then kind of is what it is. But yeah, so let's start with the keys. So we've got, or the minor keys, I guess. We've got a pretty big stack of kind of like $5 to $10-ish books. Some of them are maybe a little less than that, but they go kind of like a pair. And so we had Amazing Spider-Man 195, which is the second appearance of Black Cat. I'm not going to go into detail on all these because it would just take long, but you can see kind of like there's that water damage to these, just the rippling on them. And there's a lot of them tended to have, you know, foxing and that kind of thing. And that's just one of those things that holds the book back. Then we had Rom #1, first appearance of Rom. We have, I think a lot of people know this book, Dazzler #1. I did check the interior to see if it had that special, like the ad page that doesn't have any color, and it had the colored ad page. So, you know, this is just the standard, you know, Dazzler #1. Devil Dinosaur #1. This one was also a little bit lower grade. Just there's like, I think almost like a little like mouse chew kind of in the corner down there. But still cool, #1. This is Iron Man 120, first appearance of Justin Hammer. Also just a, you know, great Submariner crossover. Iron Man 169, which is the first time Rhodey is Iron Man. Then you have Iron Man 200, which is the first time he's in this red and white armor, just anniversary issue. And so those anniversary issues, they always have a little more value than the books around it. Just a number 1, Tarzan number 1. Then we had issues 33 and 34 of Alpha Flight. This is the first and second appearance of Lady Deathstrike. And then Miss Marvel 17, you saw this one if you watched in the video. This is one of the cameo appearances of Mystique. She's not actually in her Mystique form in this one, but one of the cameo appearances of Mystique. Another anniversary issue, number 100 of Defenders. Then we had Avengers 195, which is the first cameo of Taskmaster. So if you haven't seen that one, I thought I'd just quickly show the interior. It's always cool seeing the first time you have these characters. So he's on the very last page. That's how it is a lot of the time. You know, it really is. That is how it is a lot of the time. I mean, like with Wolverine and all that too. But yeah, and it's a cool splash page too. Very last page. There you've got first appearance of first cameo, I guess, appearance of Taskmaster. But yeah, that's an awesome splash page. That is a great intro panel for that character. So I think that one's pretty cool. Then we've got Avengers 227, first time Monica Rambeau's Captain Marvel. You know, which is a book that could be kind of a little bit more of a key as we get close to the Marvels, even though I don't think that movie's going to move books too much. Then we've got Eternals number 11. I don't even remember the name of the character. There's a bunch of first appearances in these Eternals books, but there's a first appearance in that one. This is the Eternals number 12, first appearance of Unimind. This collection didn't have any of the earlier Eternals books. Then just a couple number 1s. So Red Sonja number 1. This is the earlier one. This is the later one. But yeah, just the number 1s, I'll always kind of like pull those out as a little bit bigger key. But even if I'm gonna sell them, I'll probably just package them together with the other books in the run. Then we had Captain Marvel number 62, which is just the last issue of the run. This one's also a little tricky. I thought maybe it was a price variant, because a lot of times when they had those price variants, they would do the price like this, but it is not. This is not a price variant book. But Captain Marvel 62. Another number 1, Star Trek number 1, but not the really early Star Trek number 1 from Gold Key. This is, you know, from Marvel, because this whole collection was Marvel. Then a number of X-Men keys. There's a pretty big run of X-Men, and so we had X-Men 157, which is the return of the Dark Phoenix. X-Men 158, which is the first time you have Rogue in the X-Men title. Then we had 163 and 164, which is the origin and then first appearance of Binary, which is another one of the Monica Rambeau characters. You know, one of the other forms that she takes over the years. Then we had 168, which is the first time we have Madeline Pryor in the X-Men title. Also just a great Kitty Pryde cover. I've always really liked that cover. I think that's a good one. Then X-Men 171, which is the first time Rogue joins the X-Men. So, you know, you even got it there. Welcome to the X-Men. And then a couple copies of the first appearance of Forge. And you might not have been able to see it in the video, but this is kind of like condition I was talking about, where, I mean, you can see there's a spine roll, there's a number of like creases, you know, and little tiny tears along the spine, that kind of thing. So, you know, this is the type of book that it really needs to be very, very high grade to send in. And so that's why not planning on sending any of these in for grading. And then 191, I showed this one in the video too, where this is the first appearance of Nimrod, who's that kind of like future version of a Sentinel. Then X-Men 200, just an anniversary issue. And then X-Men 201, first Baby Cable, pretty minor key for that one. X-Men 207, just a great Wolverine cover. And then X-Men 222, which is just this, again, an awesome Wolverine, you know, battling Sabretooth cover. Again, the type of book that, like, if it's like a 9/8 type book, then it's worth sending in, but outside of that, it's not. Then we had Captain America number 241, just a Punisher crossover. You also often find, you know, when you have a character like Punisher on the cover, those books will have a little bit more value. It's just a crossover people are looking for. And then we had Captain America 290 and 295. This is the first and second appearance of Mother Superior, who is the daughter of Red Skull. So yeah, had these two. And then a few keys from the sliding a few keys from the Hulk run. Just again, Hulk 200, an anniversary issue. And then we had, trying to keep these from sliding. Then we had Hulk 228 and 229. This is the first and second appearance of the new Moonstone. So those were the kind of like the minor keys that, like I said, I kind of put them into that $5 to $10 range. And like books like Second Appearance of Mother Superior is not a, that's still like a $2 book. But if I was going to sell it, then you maybe just package it with the first appearance, then you ask like $6 or $7 instead of the $5, and it's easier to sell then. But then there were 6 books that I pulled out separately that I would call like the biggest keys that were in this collection. So first one, and actually after looking at this one again closer, I might send this one in for grading. I think it might be worth it. We'll see. But this is Iron Man number 128. This is the alcoholism cover, just kind of a pretty famous cover for Iron Man. I think this one has a shot at like an 8.0. There is a little, there's a little wear down in this corner here. There are some spine ticks, but it's you can kind of see them a little bit there. But it's a pretty clean copy. I think it has a shot at an 8.0. And so it might be worth, spending about $50, $55, for the pressing and the grading and all of that, for this one. Because I think raw, it's probably $50. Graded, maybe it gets up to like a little over 100. So there might be a little value there that makes it worthwhile. Then if you watched the video, you saw this one. This was X-Men number 221. This one definitely is not worth grading. There's some staining down in the corner here that really would hold this one back to probably, it's a nice presenting copy. It's bright. There's not a lot of spine wear. There's a little spine wear, but it's probably something where it's maybe like a 7.0, something like that, which it's just not worth grading for this book. But still, that it's probably a $50 book. Then we had Spectacular Spider-Man number 90, which it ties for one of the first appearances of the black suit with Marvel Team Up 141 and Amazing Spider-Man 252. It's definitely the least valuable of those 3. I think the big thing that hurts it is that he's not in the black suit on the cover. Kind of, you've got the half and half there, but he's in his normal outfit here. But again, it's one of those things, if you haven't seen the interior before, it's another one of those where it shows up right on the last page. And you can see this one, there's like, a lot of these had this kind of issue where there's staining, just water damage in corners and stuff. So just one of the things that holds it back, but it's still a key issue. And so on the last page, we've got, this big, splash page there with first ties or whatever, with first black suit Spider-Man. I imagine if that original art is out there, I bet that's pretty valuable. Not the 3 million I bet that the Secret Wars 8 art went for, but I bet if that original art's out there, I bet that one's pretty pricey too. But yeah, that was definitely one of the key, because like there was a lot of Amazing Spider-Man, but then there was also Spectacular Spider-Man, and there aren't a lot of keys in Spectacular Spider-Man, but this is one of them, so it's pretty cool to see that one in there. Then you saw Avengers 195, and there was Avengers 196, which is the first full appearance of Taskmaster, where you've got him right on the cover. Again, one that's really only worth grading if it's 9.0 plus, almost like 9.2 plus, and this one is not that. But still, cool book to get. Probably again like a $40 book, maybe 50. Then that Iron Man is probably the biggest book. This one would have been if it had been higher grade. But this is Miss Marvel number 18. This is the first full appearance of Mystique, and just because I like showing the interiors of these, it's always kind of fun when you have the first time that you see these characters. And so she looks exactly like, it's like from the start, she looks exactly like what you would expect. But yeah, this one I think also had, I showed it in the video, or in but you can see it's got this staining on the bottom. I don't know if it's coming through, but there's a crease that goes over here as well. And so this one, oh, and yeah, and then there's a little more staining here. So, you know, this one, maybe it gets a 5, something like that. But let's, I can't remember exactly which page it's on. I don't think it's right at the end. I think it's kind of in the middle for this one. Let's see here. But yeah, it definitely jumps out. Yeah, here it is. So there's the first, right down here. There's the first Mystique, and looks exactly how, you know, we're pretty used to seeing her, you know, over the years. So it's cool seeing, you know, that character design has held true for 50 years, you know, almost. Well, I guess, no, this would have been like 40 years, because I think this would have been late 70s. Yeah, 78. So about 45 years, 44 years. So yeah, that one definitely, if this had been like a high grade copy, would have been probably the most valuable book in here. But unfortunately, the staining and other things really, you know, hold that one back. But still, probably like a $50-ish book. Then again, if you watched the video, you saw this one. This is Incredible Hulk Annual number 5, which is the second appearance of Groot. He's actually right on the cover there too. This one is in pretty low condition. There's staining all along the spine. If you saw when I was doing the kind of like the unboxing video, there's like a tear on the back on the top. But that one's probably more down around like $20 in the condition it's in. And then just this really early X-Men, and I say really early for this for this collection. And so X-Men 114, and this one was, out of the X-Men books, one of the more valuable ones. Again, probably in the $20 to $30 range, somewhere in there. So with all of that, how did I come up with pricing for this collection? Because if you watched the earlier part of this video, you saw that none of this was bagged and boarded. And I actually haven't finished bagging and boarding because I used up all my bags and boards and I had to buy more. And so my total bag and board cost is like $110, something like that, to bag and board everything. Because it was more than 400 books. It ended up being, and that's what caught me off guard, is I was expecting around 400 and there's maybe like 475. And so I had to buy more bags and boards. And then I've also got to buy at least one full long box and a short box just for someplace to put them. Because right now I've got them all bagged and boarded, but I've put them back into those makeshift boxes because I just don't have a place to put them right now. And so just some costs that go into it there. All right, so now let's talk about what I paid for the collection, how I came up with those numbers. So what I did was I basically broke the collection down into 3 sets of books. I had these ones, which are kind of like these 6 books that are the bigger keys. And then I had this set of, you know, kind of like minor keys, like smaller key books. And then I had everything else, which is basically like the run filler type books. And so again, none of this was bagged and boarded. So I had to consider that. So I had to buy all the bags and boards, I have to buy the, you know, a couple long boxes to store everything. So my total cost with bags and boards and the long boxes is like $120, something around that, $120 or $125 just in materials to bag and board everything. Then I'm thinking about how am I going to sell these books, because selling, you know, like $1, $2 Bronze Age run fillers is not fun online. You know, like taking pictures and all that kind of thing, you know, is not fun to do online. And I don't have any desire to like ship out like $3 at a time, you know, and so thinking what I might end up having to do is maybe go to like a local show and set up at a table with that and some other books maybe that I have. And so there's one that's around me that's like $75. And so I've got some costs that would go into that. So just things I'm thinking about of what my cost would be, what my time would be, because that would be like a full day, you know, of at this show trying to sell these books. And then maybe I don't sell everything with that. And so there's just always that question there. So for me, what I'm trying to do really is I want to look at the value of the bigger keys, because I want to at least try to break even or close to it with these. And then I've got all the work that goes into selling like $5 books, $10 books, $2 books. You know, there's some in there that are like quarter or 50-cent type books, because even if they're Bronze Age, if it's a non-desirable run, you know, it's still, you're probably not even getting $1 for it. So what I did was I looked at kind of like what the value of these would be. And so, you know, this one I had maybe about like $30. And then this one, I think after grading and everything and my fees into it, my return on it might be around 60. So that's like $90. This one, maybe 40 or 50. So we'll say 130. Then this one about 25 to 30. So that's like 160. This one maybe 40, so we get to 200. This one maybe about 50, so we get to 250. And then this last one about 25. And so we're at 275. And so I'm at 275 with this. And so what I ended up paying for the collection was $215. Then I'm considering what I also had to buy for materials. So I'm into it like $340. Plus if I have to sell it like a show or something like that, then I've probably got at least about $425 into this. And so what do I think I can then get out of it after investing around $425 plus all the time? Because bagging and boarding all this stuff took me multiple hours, and then just reviewing the collection, you know, and then if I have to go sell it at a show, you've got all those hours that are into it. And so, like I said, I think about 275 here. Then I think this stack was about 40 books. And so if I average, say, $5 per book with one of those, maybe it's a little better than that, but let's say $5 per book, that's $200. So I'm at $475. And then I've got remaining, I have about 425 Bronze Age books. And so if I say each one of those, maybe I average out a sale price of $1.50, that's like 600 and some dollars. So I'm at like 1,000, maybe on the high end, I hit 1,200. And my total investment into it is about 475 plus a bunch of hours. You know, so it's one of those things that yeah, it's not like it's a ton of money or anything, but it was a lot of fun going through this. It was a lot of fun meeting the guy that I ended up buying the collection from. We're actually planning on trying to meet up again later just to talk about some other stuff. But yeah, so for me, it was more than just buying the collection to try to, you know, turn around and make some money. I had a lot of fun going through it because, you know, in terms of time, if my goal was just, you know, to make money, I would just keep listing the bigger books that I have. You know, if I have a book that's valued at $2,000 and it takes me 3 minutes to list that book, I can make more listing that book than I can putting in all this time. And so, you know, it's one of those things where it's not necessarily just about making the value on the books. It's also, this is a lot of fun for me. I really enjoyed going through all this stuff. So hopefully if you are ever looking at buying a collection, these are the types of things that you need to consider. Really, you know, break it down into the big keys, the minor keys, and everything else, and how you want to end up treating that. And really, like those big keys, you should try to at least break even, if not a little better with them, because then you can at least get your money back out relatively quickly, and now you've got the effort that goes into getting everything else out of that collection. But hopefully this helped you. You know, this is a lot of fun, and yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content like this. I've got more videos over here if you'd like to watch some of my other videos, and the subscription button right here. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, I'd really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video.